I'm say, who's a banana? He says, who's a banana? Who's a banana? Who's a banana? Do you hear that? You're a banana. You're a banana.
Let him talk. We just went live.
Okay, cool. That's my bird. Oh, there's his eye. Wow, he's right in front of the camera. Wow, that's Charlie.
Charlie. Charlie, who's a banana?
Charlie, who's a banana? Who's a banana? Charlie, you a banana? You're a banana. Who's a banana? Who's a banana? Who's a good boy?
Well, Charlie, we have a lot of fun here now going on. I want to take a minute for everybody to meet Charlie, who's a banana, the bird. Hi, Charlie.
He's a green-cheeked conure. That's the kind of bird he is.
Oh, does he file your nails with his beak?
No, he files his nails with his beak. He trims his nails a little with his beak, but not mine, not mine.
Oh. He's the cutest little comedy heckler I ever did see.
You're a banana.
Who's a heckler?
Right. Who's a heckler? That would be funny. That would be funny. The way he got who's a banana is like, in the morning I give him a banana. I say, do you want a banana? And I also say at the times, who's a good boy? And he mashed together, do you want a banana? And who's a good boy with who's a banana? And that's where who's a banana came from. And I can't correct him.
That's like some people who get those different sayings mixed up. They'll start off with the greatest way to a man's heart is, and then they'll end it with another phrase,
Right.
Mash, they call it mashing.
Right. He'll also say, he can say, there's no biting. You might hear there's no biting, because I say that a lot to him. He says that sometimes. Charlie, is there biting? Is there biting? Charlie, is there biting?
Charlie,
is there biting? There's no biting. He's looking at me like I'm crazy. Sorry.
This is what used to work for my bird. I had a myna bird. I go, rah, hello. Rah, hello.
Right. He never got into that. By the way, he can't hear you. He can only hear me because I have this, you are streaming right into my ears. So he doesn't hear you. He only hears me.
Wow.
He can see you a little, but he doesn't hear you.
Well, that's a fine feathered friend.
Right.
All righty. Well, Facebook, you've been watching us interact with Charlie the parrot. And here is Ziggy Susser. Say hi, Ziggy.
Hi, everybody.
And on Facebook, he can be found under the name of Sigmund Ziggy Susser. He's my personal friend out of the comic strip live Gladys Simon room. For a long time, we've been good friends, partnering with groups of people trying to help each other make our comedy sharper. And so I really know this guy. This isn't like one of those people I don't know. I actually know. I've had coffee with him. We've done comedy together live back when there was such an animal in full view. And today he's here and I'm going to get to interview him. I interviewed him a long time ago, but my equipment wasn't that great. So now we're going to redo the whole thing as if it never happened.
My equipment has gotten a little worse, by the way, over time, but that's neither here nor there.
Bum equipment. Yeah, now you wear those clothes.
Right. Thanks. Here it goes.
And I wear Sag Harbor.
Very good.
Thank you. I'm going to do the introduction and then we'll get into his interview. So here we go. Here's the interview introduction that Sigmund Ziggy Susser gave me. He's an extra on The Marvelous Maisel, a finalist in the funniest Jewish comedian in New York City, which is no small feat, by the way. Funniest Jewish comedian in New York City, a finalist in that show. Can you imagine? I could only dream of that. He's performed for Laughter in the Parks, which is a huge, wonderful thing right now in New York. He won a Judy Carter joke writing contest, OMG, performed in clubs, bars, libraries, and synagogues in New York and New Jersey. He's appeared on TV on the Staten Island Comedy Show, and he's been interviewed on various podcasts. If you need anything else, just let him know. And now, for your viewing pleasure, welcome to Comic Spot, Ziggy Susser.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Linda. You're great.
Hi.
Hi.
So we who know you call you Ziggy, and when you go on stage, you go by your rapper name of Ziggy Susser.
Right. Well, Ziggy, like I was always Ziggy. Ziggy, and I spell it in a weird way. I spell it Zygy. And, I never, thought how people think about it. But one person told me they thought it's a cool thing from the 60s. Like I took a cool spelling. And another person thought I took it as a comic thing, and that's why I spell it Zygy. But the reason I spell Zygy is because on my birth certificate, my parents spelled Sigmund the European way, because they came from Poland, and they spelled it Zygmunt. So Sigmund, like it was in Europe. And so I got Ziggy straight from that real spelling. Subsequently, I got an Americanized birth certificate, and Sigmund is spelled Sigmund, but I kept the Ziggy spelling as Zygy. So it's not something I made up. It's been like that all my life, And I have a funny story about my name where I was always Ziggy. Oh, nobody called me anything else. I was always Ziggy. The first day of kindergarten, the teacher was taking attendance, and I never heard my name called. So she says, what's your name, little boy? And I said, Ziggy, Susser. And she said, you're Sigmund Susser. And I said, no, I'm Ziggy. And she said, no, you're Sigmund. And, I say I didn't want to argue with her because I wanted to get into an Ivy League college, but I didn't want to fail kindergarten. But when my mother picked me up, and I was asking her, why the teacher say I was Sigmund? She said, I really was Sigmund. I had no idea that my name was really Sigmund. It's the weirdest thing at 5 years old to find out what your real name is. That's like crazy. So anyway, but it was weird.
Well, then what about Santa Claus?
Right. Then then I question everything, and I say I have it a bit about it, and I say I started questioning, is Howdy Doody a puppet, or maybe he's a little person, or maybe the moon landing was really filmed on Mars, and whatever, all these things. But it's interesting, and one person said, like, when you're a little kid and you do something bad, your parent will say, John Vincent Smith, get right in here. But I was always a good kid. So my parents never did that. They never had to yell at me to come in, I was always there. Ziggy, do you want another piece of cake? It wasn't Sigmund Solomon Susser, get right in here. It was always Ziggy, what can we do for you? I was an only child. So I never got that yelled at, but anyway. So that's another reason I didn't learn my name.
That's so funny. Have you ever done that on stage?
Yeah, it's part of a bit, whatever. There's a few jokes there and stuff like that, and I carried on. And I even carried to the point where I say, I wonder if Sigmund Freud, on his first day of kindergarten, maybe his teacher said, you're not Sigmund Freud, you're Ziggy Freud. And he had a problem. And that's how psychoanalysis started. Who knows, whatever. But I take it a little to an extreme and everything.
That's so funny. Well, let's go back and re-interview you like professionals that we are. So let's start when you were little and you were being a good kid in school, and you didn't want to flunk kindergarten. Let's talk about you growing up. You had parents who came over here from Poland.
They were Holocaust survivors.
Fabulous. That's the same as me. Were they also from the Holocaust that did exist, like mine?
Definitely the one that existed. The real deal.
Yeah, that's special, But yeah, so what was it like? I'm very curious, since I'm also a second generation Holocaust survivor with parents that went through it. What was that like growing up around those who survived the Holocaust. What was that like for you?
Well, first of all, I'm an only child. But they didn't talk about the Holocaust, but I knew something terrible happened. You know, we would always get together with family and friends, and it was always Holocaust survivors and their kids. So you'd hear things, and you know, I knew my father's brothers were all killed. I knew a lot of my mother's side was killed. I knew my grandparents were killed. And I knew they had a very hard life, and they hid out in the woods for I think like a year and a half. You know, in a hole. They would dig a hole, and when they survived with like 20 people, and you know. Uh, this Jehovah's Witness family that my father had worked for before the war would help them, bring them food, things like that. It was a terrible, terrible life. And when they thought they were going to be found out, they would have to move and dig another hole, you know, whatever. And this is, and those the worst winters. It was horrible. So, even though they didn't talk about it because they wanted to protect me, which I think was wrong. I think it would have been better for me to know something, you know, because now that they're gone, there's so much I don't know that I wish I knew, you know, and there's nobody to ask anymore. But I think because of what they went through, I kind of felt so bad for them that I had to make up for all the terrible times they had, and I had to be like the perfect child. I had to do everything right. I didn't want to give them a hard time. I didn't want to complain. I didn't ask for anything because I felt I didn't want to give them any more suffering than they went through. So it was tough on me. You know, looking back, you know, I've been in therapy and everything, and I know I've repressed a lot of my own feelings, and you know, all I wanted to do was to please them. So I never learned who I was. You know, I was always doing things for them to make them their lives a little better. So I suffered a bit, but you know, whatever. As a kid, you don't know what to do. You know.
No, I had the same thing. It wasn't until, with the help of our mutual friend Helene Witt, I didn't know any of my own feelings. I only was there for other people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you really can't be there for other people if you're not there for yourself.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
So,
yeah. But as a kid, I didn't know that. So whatever, you know. And
yeah.
then like my mother died when I was like 17. I was like a senior in high school, and like I was doing everything kind of for her to please her. And once she was gone, there was like nobody, and I just started doing badly in school. I had been doing very well, and it was like I didn't have anybody to do anything for because I wasn't important enough to myself. So you know, whatever, I almost flunked out of college. It was terrible. And meanwhile, I was in Stuyvesant High School, which is a specialized high school that you have to take a test to get into, and you have to be at a pretty high level to get in there. But I had no direction after that. You know.
I'm so sorry your mother died at such an early age, for her
Yeah.
and for you.
Yeah, she was in her 40s. Yeah, she was very young.
How did she pass away that young in life?
She had ovarian cancer. And what was bad is that they kind of discovered it, and the doctor, instead of removing her ovaries totally, left them in, which was a big mistake because then the cancer, whatever, spread and everything. And maybe he thought maybe she'd want to have more kids, but it was a big mistake, and that's what ended up killing her. You know.
And what about your father? How did he live a good long life?
Yeah, he lived like 10 more years. He remarried a very nice woman, also from Poland. And she was nice to me. She had a daughter, and the daughter came over, and she was around my age and stuff like that. But then my father died, and it was a terrible story. Her daughter ended up committing suicide, which was horrible. So then she had a terrible end of, she was miserable the last years of her life, my stepmother. So it wasn't easy. It's never easy for people. Everybody has a story.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and that's very common to struggle with depression and suicidal thoughts when you're a second generation Holocaust survivor.
Hmm. Hmm.
But was
Yeah.
the lady he remarried, your father remarried, was she also a Holocaust survivor?
I didn't. She was younger than him. She was a lot younger than him. So I don't know what she did during the war. I know her first husband was not a Jewish person, so maybe she got away with things by pretending she wasn't Jewish and stuff. I'm not sure what her story was. You know.
Got it. So you growing up in that environment, not really knowing who you were, and you felt intrinsically that they'd been through a lot but weren't speaking about it. Did you use your humor like I did to try to make my parents smile and laugh a little bit?
I think I don't know why I was funny, but I was always somewhat funny. I wasn't like a class clown or anything like that, but I was always funny. I would like I don't know if I would make them laugh per se, but humor was always, I always deflected things. I always dealt with things through humor, and I always had a good sense of humor. People, knew me as a funny kid, so there was always something there. I don't know what I don't know if it was hiding things, but I just was naturally funny usually.
Got
I'm not
it.
sure where it came from.
At what point in your life did comedy start coming to the forefront more?
I always liked it. I would go to clubs. I remember, like, I think the first club I went to was a legendary club, which doesn't exist obviously anymore in Brooklyn, called Pips. And I think Jerry Seinfeld might have started there. I'm not sure. A few people got started there. I would go to the Improv in Manhattan every now and then and saw a bunch of comics. So I always liked comedy. I loved watching the comics on the Ed Sullivan Show, Alan King and Myron Cohen and Henny Youngman and all the old time people and later people, whatever, everybody. I loved comedy, and when I was at work. I worked for Social Security the last like 35 years that I was at work. We would have like an end of the year party, like a Christmas party, and I don't know when it started, but for like the last 20 years of me being at the job, I would, during the year, write jokes and present it at this Christmas party. And it would be jokes about, my fellow coworkers, about the job itself. And I would just be reading off a legal pad. I'd never look up from the just joke after joke after joke. And they would laugh. They always laughed. Like everything worked. And people would even come up to me after and say, "Why didn't you make a joke about me?" Like, why'd you leave me off? Like they weren't like mean spirited or anything, but they were just jokes. And sometimes they were mean spirited. Some people couldn't take it. But it's my way of getting back at some people, like the bosses. But my I never punched down. I always punched up. But so I'd make these jokes, and I got really good, response from people. And then when it came time to retire, I started thinking, maybe I'm talented enough to be a regular comedian. So when I retired, I took a class at the Manhattan Comedy School, and I had Karen Bergreen as my first teacher, and she was fantastic. She's a great first teacher. She helped all of us, develop our comedic voices and everything, and just didn't learn how to use a microphone. But but other than that, I learned a lot about comedy. Kind of what was good, what was bad, and that first show. We had like five classes, I think, and the last class was a graduation show. Was a show at Gotham Comedy Club, and I invited a bunch of relatives, and everybody invited their friends and relatives and stuff. And wow, I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, every joke worked. Like the laughter. I mean, I got applause breaks. I the Karen at the end said, you hit a home run. I mean, that was a high that lasted. I don't know how long it lasted. I couldn't come down from that high. Like sex. You get a high, and you come down and stuff like that. But this one lasted so long. It was amazing, and I just wanted to repeat that. And there have been
It was reminding me of an afterglow.
yeah. There've been a few shows where I've experienced that same feeling where like everything works and I'm totally in sync with the audience and everybody's laughing and it's just great. I do pretty well at shows in general, but to have everything work, everything click, the timing and the laughter and people getting it, and it's just a great feeling. It's amazing. It's amazing. So
Oh, that's so great. And then you went on to be a finalist in the New York Funniest Comedian of New York City contest. Is that the one you're talking about? No, that was the graduation show you had.
yeah, what I was talking about the graduation show, there's a guy. Now, of course, I'm blanking out. A guy who runs this contest, the funniest Jewish comedian in New York every year.
Jeff Cole.
Obviously, it's what?
Jeff Cole.
Exactly. Jeff Cole. And one year I was in it, maybe more than 1 year. Anyway, so I always got to the finals. I never won, but I always got to the finals. And it was a good experience. It was a good experience. You got to be careful, though. I think sometimes I overstepped it, because you have very religious people sometimes in the audience and not religious people. It was funny. Like one year, like the judges came up to me and obviously, I was, like I said, a finalist. I didn't win, but they both said I was really, really great. I almost felt like, gee whiz, if you think I'm so great, why didn't I win? Whatever. But whatever, that's what happens. But you learn more from things that go badly than things that go well. So you want to be better in everything. It makes you want to prove them wrong, and you'll do better the next time and stuff like that. So.
And I'd like to segue into that, learning more from what goes wrong. I couldn't agree with you more. So speak to us about watching the legends you watched growing, coming out of New York and going to Pips and the Improv. You always watched. What's some of the lessons you learned that other comedians did wrong that you learned from without mentioning their names? Did you see some bad examples of things not to do?
No, at that point, I wasn't thinking in terms of me doing it. So I didn't really examine things. I wasn't watching it that way. I just was a regular customer. And the people you see on Ed Sullivan and the people I saw in Pips, they all seem to be doing really well. I didn't see any things. And if people didn't get that many laughs, nothing clicked. I wasn't thinking, why didn't they get laughs? My mind wasn't working that way at that point. I envied them, but I didn't think I could ever be them and stuff. And once at Gotham, like I saw Jerry Seinfeld, and after seeing him, it made me think, that's it, I'm out of the business. He's so incredible. What, I'm fooling myself. Well, I can't do what he's doing. But that's like, the top of the top. You can't compare yourself to people like that. But I know from my own mistakes, I learn, things. I try to tape every show that I do. If I can, I videotape, and I hopefully watch things and pick up on things and see what works. I don't do enough of that, but whatever. But the worst experience I had, I guess you can call it a bomb, is I was performing at a club, the Greenwich Village Comedy Club, and I had my whole set memorized, and I just forgot. I just lost my place, and I just stood there like a deer in headlights, and it seemed like forever. And I was trying to think of what am I supposed to say. It never occurred to me to do crowd work or try to go with it or make fun of myself, a senior moment or whatever I could have said. I just stood there, and finally it was almost like a record that had to go around again. And finally, it got to the point where, oh yeah, that's where I was. And I went into my, kept going with the routine, but I felt so terrible because, it's like telling the audience, I'm not really here. I'm in my head, it wasn't a good experience, but that was a learning experience, not to let that happen, to try to have things in my back pocket to say when something like that happens, so I'll know how to deal with it the next time it happens,
What would be like if you were to blank, say you're doing your set right now in front of a live audience and you were to blank out? I've done it many times. We both know I've survived brain trauma. So So what would be some good things for me to pull out and say that you've come up with? Like you just start talking to the crowd. I'm having a senior moment. Let me do some crowd work. Or what would you do? How would you get yourself out of that?
Hmm. I think I'd be honest now with the audience and say, gee, I forgot what I was going to say, and I don't know. Try to maybe do a little crowd work. I hope you're okay. You know, hope you're enjoying. I don't know. I'm not good with crowd work. I've never done crowd work. I have to do more crowd work, but I don't know. I just think of things to bounce off people who, how are you doing? Anybody? I don't know. I hope I wouldn't go to trite things like anybody having a birthday or things like that, But just hopefully, maybe I would just talk about what was happening during the day, what I was thinking of at that moment, and hopefully in talking I'll get back into whatever I really get into jokes again and stuff like that, or whatever. And the audience, I think audiences want you to succeed. I mean, maybe there are a few mean people, whatever, or drunk people, whatever, but in general they're rooting for us and they want us to do well. So they'll go along, as long as they know you're being honest, and you want the best, you want to entertain them. I think they'll give you the time to get yourself back on track, or whatever you want to do. They'll go along as long as you have a good attitude and everything.
Got it. That's a great outlook. Great outlook. Who are some of the comedians in history and lately who you identify with, and you, when they're doing their comedy or they've done their comedy, you could see yourself being like that? Who?
Well, people always bring up Woody Allen. A lot of people say that, and I'm happy. It's a great person to be compared to. I love him. I love his comedy. And I had a joke. I never used it, but I had a joke, and I was gonna say something like, and I guess that's why my wife never let us adopt a child or anything. But anyway, but Woody Allen, Stephen Wright. I love Stephen Wright. I think his humor is fantastic. But I love so many comics. There's hardly anybody I don't like. I mean, obviously Jerry Seinfeld, and the old timers, the Henny Youngmans, and the Alan King, and David Brenner, and Jerry Lewis, and the Three Stooges, and Myron Cohen, and Danny Kaye, and um, I mean, Jonathan Winters, Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Lenny Bruce, uh, Joan Rivers, Phyllis Diller, Gene Carroll, Toady Fields. There's so many, Elaine Boozler. There's just so many great comics. Anthony Jeselnik, Gilbert Gottfried. I mean, I could name it. I love them all. I love them all. They're all great. They're all great.
Yes.
Um,
Now, I know Jackie Mason came a couple times to the comic strip live to see our mutual friend George Saltz. Did you ever see Jackie Mason when he came to
I,
see?
ne- I, ne- I never saw him at the concert. I never saw him at a club. I saw his show on Broadway, and I loved it. I think he's fantastic. But I never saw him, perform at a club or be in the audience at a club I was at.
Got it. Well, let's talk about you starting out. At what year did you get up on stage to do comedy? Because I met you about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago at Comic Strip Live. I don't even remember what year I came there.
For me, it was like 2016 when I, did that first with that graduation show. Um, I'll age myself and I'll say I was 66 years old when I started. Um, I know George has started. Well, he started earlier, but then got back into it at a much later date and stuff. But for me, it was like 66 when I was starting and everything. But I most of the jokes I make, most of my material doesn't have to do with age. I like to do just general jokes. You know, I don't normally poke fun at my age. Maybe I have some I'm not even aware of, but normally I just like to make fun of things that I find as being funny, you know, whether it has to do with my age or not. Whatever's funny is funny, you know. I'll make jokes about the bird, about my name, about therapy, about the virus, you know, the pandemic, whatever, you know, my wife, my kids, whatever.
Yes, I love your comedy. And you're going to
Thank
be
you.
coming on in February and doing up to 30 minutes of comedy.
I hope so. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. In April, you gave me a
In
date in
April, my
April.
bad.
Right, that's
That's
okay.
right, April. I
Right,
didn't
right,
want to stress you out.
right. So that's cool. I've done 15. I've done 15 minutes, and I want to see if I can go to 30. That would be great. That would be great. Thank you for giving me the chance.
Yes, you bet. I'm delighted to do it. I would do anything for the 5 or 6 of you out of Gladys's room.
I'll probably do the first 15, and then I'll just repeat myself the last 15.
Or do like the young people and just say every other word.
I do that anyway, but hopefully I won't. Hopefully I won't. But you know, this guy put a thing on Facebook that they want to do. John Butera. They want to do a thing for the Guinness Book of World Records. Did you hear about that? He wants to do 60 hours straight of comedy. And I volunteered, but I didn't. You know, I guess they were all filled up or whatever, so I didn't get on. But that sounds really interesting. That sounds cool.
Well, you can always say that you're Guinness World Record adjacent.
That's cute. That's cute. And I know Jason. No, anyway.
What's the funnest thing you've experienced in your comedy life?
um, I have a bit where I say I cried when I handed in my retirement papers. I had always hoped to see my assistant manager drop dead. I'd always hoped to stay long enough to see my assistant manager drop dead. So you know, I did my set, and I'm on a staircase, you know, watching the other comics and whatnot. And this woman is going up the staircase. She was in the audience. I guess she was on her way to the bathroom, and she said, did you mean what you said about, you know, that you hated your, you know, system manager, you wanted her to drop dead? And I said, yes. She said, and I had said that I worked for Social Security. She said, I work for Social Security. Who's that person? And I figure I'm out of the job, so I can say, and I figure she doesn't know who the person is or anything, so, you know, whatever. So I mentioned the person's name, and she said, oh my God, I hate her too. So, you know, a totally different office. You know, I worked in the Bronx, she was in Manhattan, but like everybody knows this horrible woman. And it was so funny, you know, that she knew her, and she said, she's terrible. So that was like the funniest thing that ever happened at a club. So I thought that was cute. I thought that was cute.
Sometimes I've had mean bosses and they knew when to turn it on and they knew who they could lord it over, and they'd
Hmm.
be mean to the employees and really nice to the bosses, nice to
Right.
customers, but they'd take it out on the
Yeah,
whenever
and they would have their favorites, and a few people who were their favorites, and the rest of the people, you know, they were mean to. Yeah, uh, every job has somebody like that, unfortunately.
Yes. I was never a favorite of any of my bosses or my parents.
Well, my parents had no choice because I was an only child, so I had to be a favorite. But it could also be the one they didn't like. But anyway, whatever. I had to take it all in.
Yes. So, what's coming up for you that you're excited about doing?
Well, I'm taking a class with Vanessa Hollingshead, who's really great, and so, you know, with her class, like again, it leads to a graduation class. So, you know, it's like we have, I think, 6 classes and then a graduation class, and I started a bit from scratch, and I'm working with her and the rest of the class to make it good, so I can have another, you know, 5 minute set, and probably after the class I can make it even longer and stuff. So I like, you know, trying to work on new bits, because it's very easy for me to get stuck and say, hey, this has been working. Why try something new? You know, especially like this audience has never heard it, so why not do it? And I do have a mix of old stuff and new stuff, you know, when I perform at a club and everything. But I want to keep writing new bits because, you know, the old stuff, you know, whatever, gets a little stale to me. So I'm happy to take Vanessa's class. And also there's the class, you know, with Rob Chaffee, and he does, you know, Joke Zoom, and that's a writing class. And I like doing that. And I want to, you know, do more stuff. Another thing with Rob is that he asked some of us if we want to do sketch comedy, if we wanted to write sketches, and we all submitted sketches to this. Whoever wanted to do it submitted sketches to this contest in England, and I wrote a sketch for the first time, and unfortunately just today, I got back that I wasn't one of the ones chosen. They said they had 400 applicants and they picked 20, and I wasn't, you know, mine wasn't chosen. I was hoping it would be, but it wasn't. But it was the first time I ever did anything like that. So hopefully I'll get better. And they also said that if we want, they'll tell us why our submissions, you know, wasn't picked, you know, whatever. So I want to grow from it. I want to learn and do, you know, more sketch stuff and everything. So whatever, and work on routines. I want, you know, I want to get better. I want to do more act outs. I'm not good with act outs. I'm not good with crowd work, although with Zoom you can't do much crowd work. But you know, I want to get better in a lot of things. But it's scary. It's scary to try new things. It's scary to leave something that's comfortable, something that works, for something that doesn't work. But whatever, I just want to get better, you know.
Absolutely. So I've been in the class. I drop in once in a while to the one you're totally committed to, Rob Chiaffi's class. And
Mm-hmm.
and you and I have both been partaking. I took with you the first round of Vanessa Hollingshead's class. And, you know, I've been getting nothing but bookings and rave reviews from the help that Vanessa gave me. I cannot believe, you know, people go, are you going to get conceited? No, it took 7 years to get this good. I think you'll stay. If you really came up humbly, you're going to stay humble.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. I also take workshops every now and then, like Judy Carter runs some workshops, and I've taken some of them. And one good thing also that came out of Judy Carter, besides the lessons she teaches, is she tries to pair people up into comedy buddies. And I got paired up. I paired up with this woman named Deb Steves. She's in Canada, but we're comedy buddies. So like, you know, once a week we schmooze and talk about comedy, and that helps too because she has a good comedy mind, and I try to help her with her stuff, and she tries to help me with my stuff, and that helps too because I'm a lazy guy. So it's you know, I need to be in these things because otherwise I'll just be sitting on the couch, you know, looking at my phone and whatever, all these social media things and watching TV. So I need something to, you know, get me off my ass to write, to think about comedy, to do stuff. And I'm funny, so it would be a waste to not be doing it. So I'm happy to be given those opportunities to try to do stuff, you know. So it's good. It's good.
And I know Vanessa's class is more about coming up with material, running it by her, getting tips, listening to other people, maybe telling them in the chat room an idea or whatever. Where Rob Chiaffi from Joke Zoom, his classes are, he puts you in breakout rooms where you get to have like a whole 10 minutes to run
Mm-hmm.
by your material. Focus on one joke for 10 minutes, you can make it really good.
Yeah. He's done a lot for us. I mean, he has this whole site, the Joke Zoom thing, and there, you know, there's so many, you know, tools that we can use and lessons and videos and stuff. I mean, he's amazing how much work he's put into it, and it's there for us. You know, I haven't taken advantage of even half of it, but there's a lot there which can really make us good comics. And he's been in the business like 14, 15 years, and he's like selfless, and he's just happy to help people, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yes.
A lot of comedy people are really nice people. The ones the ones I've met are really nice people, and want to help. Which is great. You know.
Yes. It's always so humbling when people who are further along, maybe even semi-famous or famous, take an interest in us.
hmm
It's
And
like,
I,
why are you being so nice? You don't have to be.
and I like, if I can, I like helping other people. Like like you mentioned, the breakout rooms. If I can help somebody with a joke or a line, I'm really happy to do it. I don't mind giving them the lines or whatever. Like a lot of times anyway, it's their persona. It's not my persona. It wouldn't fit with me. So if I can help somebody, I get a kick out of that. I really enjoy that.
Absolutely. It's so joyous for me too. I know exactly
Mhm.
what you're referring to.
And then
Oh,
there's George. I talk to George Saltz, like every week, and he's got a brilliant comedy mind, and I love, fleshing out things with him. It's beautiful to talk to him. He's so funny.
yes.
And all of us. I talk to you. You give me great ideas. Helene, Gladys. All these people. We just help each other. We like helping each other. Which is really
I've
nice.
sent you all my material and you've sent it back with different things, different changes. So
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
for that. You've always been there whenever I've needed you.
And vice versa. You've given me very good input and insights into things, because we think sometimes something is strikes us as being funny, and so a lot of times we're right, and sometimes we're not. Sometimes we get a different perspective from somebody else, and we go, oh my god, I didn't think of it that way. I didn't, oh, it's coming out that way. like 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 just a little thing. I have a joke about Charlie, and I mentioned the Animal Medical Center. And I mean, this is a stupid little thing, but somebody, in the group, they're not from New York, and maybe that's a famous place in New York, but they didn't know what that was. So I changed it to Animal Hospital, and then everybody can relate to it. So just little things that you wouldn't think of, you know, people can help you just because of, hey, I don't get, what did you mean, and stuff like that. Um,
Absolutely. Do you ever tell a joke and you know people might not get the reference and that makes it kind of funny to you? And like I purposely say a joke that I know the young people aren't going to get, and then I look at the audience and go, "Oh, young people," and then I tag it for the young people.
Well, in the recent set, like it's about the bird walking on the floor, and us not seeing him. So I've added a line. I say something like, now when he walks on the floor, he says, "I'm walking here. I'm walking here." And that's from Midnight Cowboy. And I say, well, it's not everybody knows Midnight Cowboy. Not everybody's seen Midnight Cowboy, but some people will know that, and some people won't. So I guess that's an example. But also, what it made me think of is, like, there's some jokes where it's like the audience gets it in stages. Like some people get it right away, then another group will get it, then another. Like, I don't know what you'd call it. It's like rolling laughter or something like that. I love that. When you finally get the whole audience to, but it starts slow and builds up. That also happens. Oh, I didn't get that. Oh yeah, that's what he meant. Whatever. So that I love things like that too, and everything.
I love it. I call it the wave, like at a football game.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. A good way to put it. But when everybody's laughing, I mean, wow, it's such a great feeling when you can be one with the audience. It's so great. In the beginning, it's always, I couldn't be there with the audience. Like, what's the next joke? I couldn't be there. But now, I'm more comfortable with the audience, and I can be there with them, and I like to make jokes like about, like now in Zoom, for example. I was gonna say, I like to make jokes about what I heard before from other comics and stuff. Like, I feel comfortable enough that I could get off script and refer to something that another comic said and everything, and just showing that I'm there, and I am there. So it's good. It's good, but it's still hard to bomb. I still want to please everybody. I still want everybody to laugh, to think I'm really funny and stuff. It's hard to say, okay, let me just try this out, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's hard, you know, because I always want people to be laughing, to be thinking I'm funny.
Absolutely. I get it. I was on a show. I got lucky enough to be picked by Suwan Weaver at Flappers, and I got on a show last night. And it was so, I wanted to tell you what happened. I didn't get a chance to tell you guys, my 5 or 6 best friends in New York, yet. I didn't tell you. So I'll say it now for everybody too. Try this sometime when you're on a show and everybody's doing their stuff and you're last or you're way at the end or whatever. And every time somebody does their set, come up with a tag or a joke for each person. I was so amazed that the headliner, her name is Jenny McNulty. And when she got up there, the first 2 minutes of her set was going, "Hey, Sally, joke. Hey, Linda, joke. Hey, duh." And she gave everybody a joke for 2 minutes before she did her set.
Wow, well, yeah. I try to do something like that at Gladys's. If you know, depending on where I am in the rotation and stuff, you know, but I'll try to make reference to something Gladys said or the other comics. And there are other open mics or shows that I'll do that I try to do exactly that. Like I'll have a paper in front of me and jot down something and try to make a joke about what somebody said and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
me
Are you
too.
doing that too? Are you doing that too?
I'm gonna start doing it, because I think it's a nice thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was like, it was not to copy her, but maybe a couple of things for people. But usually people will get up there and they'll cut down the comics before them. You
Oh
know,
yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Also, the bad thing also is like when you're only given 5 minutes, you know, if that's all they give you, you can't spend a lot of time. You can't spend 2 minutes going back to what other people said. The headliner has more time. They're going to be on stage 10 minutes, 15 minutes, so they can afford to do that. But when you only have like 5 minutes, like I guess you have to decide, you know, should you do that or should you do your material and stuff, you know?
and every single joke and tag that she gave to everyone in the room before she headlined, every single thing was hilarious. And she wrote
Wow,
them on the spot, and it
wow,
was superb. I mean, I'm going to
wow.
take for me, she just gave me a tag and I'm going to use it.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
You know
Yeah,
how
yeah,
I do that 21 times 3 plus 6?
right.
And she says, 8 square plus a few,
What'd she say?
8 squared plus a few.
Wow, wow, that's interesting. That's it. I like that. I like that. See that's how it's so great. People see things a little differently, and they can help. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I didn't realize it, but you know how I talk about 21 and 21 times 3 plus 6,
Right, 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 right,
21,500.
right.
And then I get into the military stuff and I say, I was one woman with 2,000 men. And how many times, I'm bad at math. How many times were they going to try to take 2,000 and shove it in? And I get done, and the host says, and so funny that you say that you're bad at math because your whole set was about math.
That's funny. That's funny. But what's the answer? What's the answer? 27 or 17? I forget your answer.
17.
17. Okay, good, good, good. Yeah.
Which
Um,
is bogus because like how many times a day were they going to try to shove 2,000 into me? And the real answer is about 2,000 a day, but I heard that 17 is funnier on stage, so 17.
right, right, right. Like I have a bit. I said a bit about him. You know that he had. They wanted to see if he had brain damage, and they one of the ways is to ask him to count backwards from 100, and then pause and then say by sevens. So, so which he was able to do. And Elaine helped me a little with that joke too, and George. But anyway, so maybe we all use a little math in our jokes.
Yes, it's fun, and it really, like, people don't expect somebody at my age to use math references. you know, and it's fun. For some reason, it cracks. I don't understand why my Tanya Harding and my math jokes work so well, but they do.
Because they're funny. That's why it doesn't matter with their math. Or it doesn't. What's funny is funny. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But like when you write jokes, certain of your jokes in your set, I'm sure you found this to be the case, Ziggy, is that certain jokes get the highest laughter possible that you've gotten out of people. And the other jokes do okay, but for some particular reason, a few of your jokes people remember, they laugh really hard. Do you find that?
Yeah. I remember I did a show and Jocelyn Chia was on the show, and I was talking to her a little in the green room, and she was saying that she and maybe everybody maybe was supposed to do this. She would rate every joke. She would give a number, a value to every joke. And she'd keep the jokes that got what tens, nines, whatever, and get rid of anything that was like sevens, anything below it, And she, I mean, you do the same joke at different shows. You can't do it just by one time. But that's what you're supposed to do to have all great stuff, to listen to your stuff and remember, hear what worked, what didn't work, and make everything try to make everything a 10, and only keep the tens and get rid of stuff that's middle, and it's hard to do because they're like our babies. So it's hard, even jokes that don't work, you like it. So, it's hard to get rid of it. But that's what you're supposed to do to get really good. Just, work on making all of them the best, and whatever doesn't work out to be the best, you have to get rid of,
Speaking of the worst, what's been your worst joke that you want to hold on to and you don't want to get rid of it? Because we all have those.
Let me think. Ow. Right now, I can't think of a worse joke because they're all my favorites. So it's like you picking which child you like best. I can't give you a word. It wouldn't be fair. Like they'd feel bad. So I couldn't
Forget
do
about
that.
you having a persona. Your jokes have a persona.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
Oh, that's
By the
hilarious.
way, he's he's saying, what are you saying? He's saying, I don't know if you could hear him. What are you saying? He's saying, who's the banana? Or Charlie. He was talking. Anyway.
Yeah.
Um, I just blanked out for a second. I'm back. Okay.
Yes.
But he's, I like to say with Charlie on my shoulder that he's tweeting. But
he doesn't have to be on the keyboard to tweet.
Right, exactly. He keeps saying right now, I don't know if you hear him, he's saying who's a banana, but I don't know if you heard him. But anyway, it's cute.
Very cool.
But you know what I'm afraid, I mean, this is a terrible thing to say, but I'm writing a set now about Charlie and as things that have happened with Charlie. And Charlie, we only had Charlie like 2.5 years, but the bird we had before him was Rocky. And I loved Rocky to death. Rocky was amazing. We had him 11 years. And I had written jokes about Rocky. But once he died, I couldn't do them. It was just like, it was too hard. It was too sad, And I'm wondering, I could write a whole bit on him. And if he dies before me, I'm going to lose a bit. So maybe I shouldn't do it because whatever. But that's a terrible thing to say. But anyway, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, gee, Rocky died and I lost all those jokes. But maybe I'll do them at some point. But it's like too raw. So I can't do those jokes. And I would think that if he God forbid died before us or whatever, I'd be too sad to tell any jokes about him.
Yes.
Because it's like a child. He's a child,
Yes.
My wife says I spoil him, and
Aww.
I do. Like I hand feed him. I put up food right to his mouth. He doesn't even have to get it himself. It's terrible.
You don't argue in front of the bird though, do you?
Well, I don't know what he knows, but you know, like if the decibel level gets too high, he gets, you know, a little excited or whatnot. So we got to be careful. Got to be careful. Um, but you know, every now and then, like, you know, I feel bad for him because he can't say what's on his mind, and so he has to bite sometimes. If he gets mad or angry, he bites, and biting hurts because he's got a, you know, a strong beak, a sharp beak. But you know, so I'll be mad at him, but then I have to remember he can't talk. So what other alternative does he have? And I know this is going to sound stupid, but I'm toilet training him. Like I can tell when he's about to poop because he moves his little tushy back and forth and he starts walking backwards. So when I see that he's about to do it, I put him on the edge of a little garbage pail and I you know, I say, Charlie, make a doo-doo. And you know, I've done it over and over. And now, you know, when I see him doing that, I put him on the garbage pail. Now, sometimes he'll fly to my shoulder and he'll say, make a do. He'll say, make a do. He can't say make a doo-doo, but he'll say, make a do. He's telling me to put him on the garbage pail. And then I'll put him on that little garbage pail, and sure enough, he'll poop. You know? It's and once in a while, and this is the best, I'm getting chills saying this. Once in a while, he'll fly to the garbage pail himself and say, make a do, and poop right in the garbage pail without me having to bring him there, which is really incredible, really incredible.
That shows how smart he is.
Yeah. I mean, they talk about a bird brain, but birds are smart. Birds are smart. You know, I mean, just the fact that they can talk and I, you know, he really understands things. Like he knows, like when I'm going to go out in the middle of the day, I start putting on my shoes and stuff, and he lets me lock them up. And he doesn't you know, give me a hard time. But when it's the nighttime and he has to go to sleep, he doesn't want to go to sleep. So we have a whole, you know, ritual where he'll fly to the top of like a picture, and then I'll try to get him, and then he'll fly to another picture, and I'm chasing him. And it's a whole big thing. And then, you know, finally I'll put a ladder under him and he'll climb on it and go in and stuff like that. But we have a whole dance, you know, song and dance and stuff. And so there's a difference when he's going to sleep versus when we're leaving in the middle of the day.
Maybe you can
So
put on your shoes and act like you're gonna leave.
right. That's a good idea, but I don't know how many times I get away with that. I think I get away with it a little, and then, you know, he'd catch on and stuff because he's pretty smart and everything.
Can you teach
Um,
him to write what he's thinking? Like he can't say and he's biting you. Maybe you can teach him to pluck out a feather and dip it in a well and write what he's trying to tell you.
Right. Yeah, that's cute. That's cute. I like that. In the bit I'm working on, I'm saying that our family is going to group therapy. It's called bird. I don't have the exact. I'm not sure if I'm going to call it birds of a plucked feather, or, or, or just birds of a feather, or birds of a lost feather. So far, plucked is lead. What do you think is the best between birds of a feather,
Plucked.
birds of a lost? You like plucked also, so I think
I
it'll be
love the
plucked.
word play, and the word
Right.
pluck is funny.
Right. So it's probably going to be birds of a plucked feather at group therapy with other people who've had their bird, who brings their birds with them, you know, and so we have group therapy, and one person's an empty nester, which I think is funny. And one person, the bird stops talking and they're saying, just give me an A, you know, say something, you know, whatever, all these different things. Maybe a bird that stutters now. I don't know, you know, whatever. I'm working on the bit. So whatever. But you know,
And for the bird that stutters, you could say something about it's stammer time.
as opposed to it's hammer time.
Because a
That's cute.
stammer is a stutter.
Right. That's cute. Okay,
Da, da,
good.
da, da, da. Stammer time.
Right. That's cute. You know, but you know, but he's like a child, you know. To me, he's a child. To my wife, you know, like I just said, she thinks I spoil him. But to me, he's like, because he's always going to be this little thing. It's like he's a baby, but to her, he's like he's mature. He's an adult, you know. Whatever. I shouldn't be spoiling him and everything. Like He'll go under my t-shirt. He'll go under and just stay on my chest, like for the warmth. And I'll put my hand over him, and he'll just stay there, you know. And sometimes he'll go under my chin, or I'm rubbing him on my chest, and he'll be purring like a kitten. Like, who would think a little bird can make a purring sound? But he purrs. He really likes it, you know. He loves to have his head scratched. He'll sit in my hand. He'll literally lie in my hand and close his eyes. He'll go to sleep in my hand. He'll take a nap in my hand. It's so beautiful, you know. And then he'll bite me, but but you know, but it's really cool. It's really cool. Well, they always say, you know, pets are great to have, for emotional stuff, you know, especially this time with the pandemic. A lot of people supposedly have gotten pets, and it can help, you know.
Yes.
So he's good.
I have a relative who is under the age of 15 who's been having a hard time with depression in her life, and the pandemic isn't helping it any. So right now the family took her to probably a 24-hour ride to pick up a dog. She got to get a dog, something to focus on besides
Wow.
depression.
24 hours to get, wow. Well.
Round trip, yeah.
Wow.
I'm really happy that
good.
She had a pet rabbit, and it died, and so that didn't help. But you know, some children always look at the positive. Some children look at the negative. Some look at the negative because they're depressed, and at least the family is on alert that that's what they're dealing with.
Right. And dogs are so unbelievable. They're like, you know, just love. I mean, they're fantastic. Dogs are the best. Dogs are the best. I mean, you know, we get a lot from Charlie. I mean, he's almost like a dog, I could say, but dogs are incredible. But you know, you know, like I'll take a nap in the middle of the day, and he'll just sit on my head while I'm napping. You know, he'll hang out with me. It's really cute. He's really cute. But you got to be careful. He just walks on the floor. Sometimes he can be stepped on. If I sneeze, he'll get scared and take off. And he went into the window once, you know, whatever. Just, you know, because a big noise scared him. He was okay, but we got to be. I have my whole bit is about. I have a whole bit when my wife accidentally stepped on him, and we brought him to the animal hospital and stuff, and whatever. And you know, I don't know how much if you want me to do any, but whatever.
Yes.
But you know, yeah. Well, like when we're, you know, we don't believe in keeping him locked up. When we're home, he's always out of the cage, and you know, so usually, you know, he's flying around or he's on something high. And my wife was getting off a sofa, and she had no idea he was on the floor, and she accidentally stepped on him. And like flattened him out. He was like flat like a pan. It was horrible. He was alive, but he was like flattened out. It was horrible, and he couldn't fly. And you know, his wings finally went back, but he couldn't fly. He was like dazed. I brought him to the animal hospital, and they said I'd have to leave him overnight, and then they called me, you know, and meanwhile, you know, I had to leave like a tremendous, you know, deposit. I had to leave my second child as a deposit. um, but you know, they called the next day to say he's okay, and they said he didn't have any broken bones, and he didn't have any brain damage. And I said, like, how do you, you know, check for broken bones? They said they gave a CAT scan. They brought a cat into the room, and if he could fly, they knew he didn't have any broken bones. And sure enough, he could fly, so he was okay. And I said, how do you know he didn't have any brain damage? And they said they asked him what the day of the week was. and they asked him the maiden name of his mother's maiden name. He got that right. And then counting back from 100 by 7, so he knew all those things, you know. So they said he was okay. So I was able to bring him home, and you know, slowly but surely got back into being able to fly. You know, first a foot, then 2 feet, and he's back to normal. And then you know, I'm thinking, like, you know, I'm such a better parent than my wife. She stepped on him. I would never do that. And, now I look on the floor to see where he is. And, I saw he was on, a perch, whatever. So I sit on the bed, and all of a sudden I sat on him. Like in a split second between me seeing where he was, turning around and sitting on the bed, he flew under me, and I crushed him. And here it goes all over again. He was flattened out again and stuff. So I wasn't going to, it's just a true story. And I wasn't going to bring him back to the animal hospital. So, so I asked him what day of the week it is, what's your mother's maiden name, count backwards from 100 by sevens. And then I got the neighbor's cat, and I knew he didn't have any broken bones. So anyway, but again, it's a true story. And he learned stuff. Like now, he'll say to us, get the hell away from me. and he'll say, I'm walking here. And he also learned a new one. You have a big fat ass. When he's talking to me. So. So and to stop him like from flying into like a one of the windows and stuff. So in some windows we have a picture of my wife's foot, and in other windows we have a picture of my ass, so he doesn't fly into the windows. So that's what's going on in my house. So but anyway, so obviously I'm using it, and it's great. It's a lot of material there and everything, and that stuff that like they say, the best things come from truth, and it's a whole, well, most of that is true. I mean, you can't come back from 100, but most of that story is true. So
maybe you could add something about how when you flattened him out, he was as flat as a pancake, and then later on you could talk about your wife and you put on your shoes to go to IHOP, and he came back with pancakes, and he flew to the window and he said, I fly. I don't want to be flat as a.
Like that brings back flashbacks. So I guess I like that. That's cute. It makes them have flashbacks. That's very cute, very funny. Thank you.
When he's talking, you can say, "Who wants to be a pancake?"
Who wants pancakes today? And he runs out of the room. Flies out of the room. So that's good. That's good.
How does your wife and your daughter? You have one daughter or two?
One daughter, one son.
How do your children take to you giving so much parental attention to the bird?
Well, they don't live with us. My son's in North Carolina. Our daughter's in Chicago. But when she come to visit, he hates her. He flies to my daughter and bites her. He's like jealous or something. Or sees her as a rival. It's terrible. And he can, like I said, he can bite really hard. So okay, I blacked out for a second. So like when she comes, like she stays in her room, and like I mentioned, we always have him out of the cage. So she has to text us from her room saying, I want to come out of my room. Can you please lock the bird up? So we have to, catch him and lock him. I have to put on my shoes, like we're going out. So we have to lock him up. And I have a joke that, when he wants to come out of his cage, we lock her up in her room so that he can come out of his cage. But it's bad because I asked the vet, how do we get him to like her? And they gave these things that we should. My daughter should give him the food he likes, but everything would take time. Meanwhile, she's just coming for a visit, so she's only going to stay a few days. So, and she doesn't want to take the chance that he'll bite until that happens, that she's got to go through a bunch of bites. So I don't know that there'll ever be a reconciliation. So, we miss her. We miss both kids, but we miss her terribly. And she might come back for like spring break because she's like in graduate school now. So, she has to come first, and so he'll be locked up for a lot of the time because we want to spend time with her in the living room more than with him and everything. So, and that makes him resent her even more because he knows why. Oh, this is amazing. When she was staying with us, he would want to bite her, and he would fly to her bedroom and pace back and forth in front of the door, waiting for her to come out so he'd get her, which is horrible. But she hasn't been here in a long time, and I closed that room. It's been months, whatever. I closed that door, and it's like something clicked in him, and all of a sudden he flew to the door and starts walking back and forth in front of the door. She's not even here, but he remembers that to do that. That's crazy. He's
Okay.
crazy. He
I'm
wanted.
thinking that when you're famous, you can have merchandise to sell when you're featuring and headlining, and you could sell birds that will, like, just like Charlie, that will guarantee that your empty nester, your children that made you empty nesters, will stay away.
Right, for sure, for sure. It's terrible. It's terrible. A lot of times I've heard that birds pick one person in the household to bond with, and the other person they don't like. But luckily, our birds have liked both me and my wife. So we're very lucky with that. The kids not so much, but the but me and my wife they like. So it's good. It's good. He'll go under her same way he'll go under my shirt. He'll go under her blouse. He'll go under her neck, and whatever. He's good with both of us. He's good with both of us, and
Does,
he forgave us.
is your wife well endowed, or is she like a pancake that makes him run into the window?
No, she's fine by me. She's good. She's good. She's good. She's got what it takes. Anyway, but he's good. He's good. He let me think of what else he does. Um, he goes crazy over certain things, like we all take different pills, especially as we get older and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, there's one narrow pill box where my Mike takes out. When she goes to take pills out of that, he flies to her and bites her. All the other pills out of the other pill boxes are okay. That one, it sets him off, and he bites. It's nuts. It's nuts. Running water sets him off. He can't stay running. He wants to bite us when the sink is going. It's crazy. It's like I have no idea what's going through his mind why running water sets him off, but it does. So we have to be careful in everything. And I don't want to lose power in this thing, because I want to just plug it in to make sure it doesn't die. Good.
One second, someone knocked on my door.
Okay.
No, thank you. Gracias, or thank you. They're supposed to clean my apartment once every 2 weeks.
Cool. That's great. That's great. Tell them to come to us. But I forgot what I was saying about him.
Sounds
Stuff he
like your
does.
bird has PTSD.
I wonder what. Yeah. He's got something. He's definitely got something. If there was bird therapy or family therapy for birds, I think we'd take advantage of it. But he gives us a lot of joy. So it's good. It's good. It's just that if he bites, his beak is sharp, and we have to let it stay sharp because he's got to open seeds and stuff like that. So he might not mean to hurt, but it can hurt. When he bites. But he doesn't bite often. And then his nails, they get long, and they have to be trimmed, because again, he doesn't mean to hurt you, but if his nails are sharp and he's walking on you, it hurts sometimes. But again, he doesn't mean to. He's good. He's good. And when we go on vacation, when we've gone, now we know nobody goes anywhere, but when we've gone on vacation, we had a bird sitter. We found a woman who literally, she has
Don't you and
cages.
your wife do that good enough?
Right. That's true too. But that's very good. I didn't get that right away. I didn't get it right away. Very good. Very funny. But this person that she doesn't sit on them. She has cages in her apartment, and people know to bring their birds to her, and she watches them when you go away for a few days, a week, a month, whatever. That's how she makes a living. She charges people to do that. We can leave them alone one day, one overnight is okay. but more than one night, we wouldn't do that. So, we would take him someplace, or if we can at all take him with us. We even once went on a vacation where we brought a collapsible cage and brought the cage with us and set it up and had him in the hotel and stuff, whatever, motel, whatever we were staying. But we were Airbnb, I forget where it was, but we brought him, and and made sure, like, because here, there's screens on the windows, we live on, we're not on the ground floor. So if he flew out the door, he wouldn't fly outside. But, when we took him with us, we had to be very careful, because it was like just a house on the first floor. We had to be very careful.
The whole time you were talking about your Charlie trying to get him to go in the cage, I'm thinking to him, he's probably thinking that apartment is a cage.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, we're his whole world. Like I put him on a windowsill so he could look out, and to open up his world. They can see trees, a little whatever. Not that I have much of a view, mostly it's one tree and then a building, because I'm on a low floor. But he likes looking outside. And if he hears birds chirping, not so much from outside because usually the windows are closed, but on a TV show, if there's birds chirping, like he'll perk up and look around and stuff. And when he's we once, Rocky once, we went away, and Rocky, for whatever reason, I think we once went away. I think the first time we went away, and when we came back, Rocky lost his voice for a while. Like he couldn't talk. Like I don't know if he got scared or if he had screamed so much he lost his voice. But like that didn't happen. Like maybe that was the first time we went away. He was like, I think it was from fear. He got so scared he couldn't talk. But obviously he came back and he got back to normal. But they really get attached to you. They're like we're their whole world. But
Yes.
sometimes
Like
maybe
having
it's
a schedule.
like having what?
A schedule.
Sure. Like right now I'm retired, so I'm home the whole time. So he has it really good. He's out of the cage all the time. But when, with Rocky, I was working, and both of us were working. And so he was in the cage most of the day and only came out when we got home. But this guy, he's like, he's out all hours of the day, and, except for the few hours we're outside, So
Did
he
you
has it pretty
teach
good.
Rocky that you hated your job, your boss?
No, I didn't try my jokes on him.
I want my boss to drop dead.
Right.
He
No,
says that to you.
right. But Rocky was great, and Rocky, didn't bite anybody. He wasn't jealous of our kids, and he was like, he was really good. He was really good. It was so sad when we had to put him to sleep, like, whatever. It was really, really, really hard. And again, we brought him to the animal hospital. Because he was dying and stuff like that. And so they, they would give him a peaceful death, put him to sleep and stuff. And it was so sweet. The vet was so nice, and she could tell how much we loved him. She sent us back, like, I don't know if you've ever noticed, birds have little rings on their legs or whatnot. So she sent us back the ring and like 3 feathers with, and that was so sweet. That was so sweet, because she saw how attached we were to him and stuff like that. And with Rocky, I'd always play certain music to him, and since he died, I don't play that music. I can't listen to that music. I haven't played that or anything like that, because that was our music and stuff like that. So anyway,
How long ago did you lose Rocky?
I guess like 3 years ago, like, it was so hard. It was so, we were so upset that and we've done this a number of times, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we end up buying another bird soon after, because it's like, it's so hard to deal with those feelings, that one of the best ways to get over it is to buy another pet, another bird or another dog or cat, whatever people have, to help you get over it, because it's so hard, So
That's
I,
like the one. That's like the one relative in my family. They had a dog, went on vacation, came back, and the person taking care of the dog had let the dog die somehow. So they had to come back with this child that is a little depressed from time to time to a dead dog.
Oh
So
my
then they got
God.
a rabbit and the rabbit died. So now they really want to surprise her in the pandemic with a fresh dog. So, like, oh, please, Lord, let her have a good, long relationship with this dog.
Yeah, yeah. We had a dog too. We inherited like my mother-in-law's dog, and we had her for a few years and stuff. And we went on vacation, and the dog had diabetes. And we told our friend she was house sitting, in her house to watch the dog and stuff. And we told her what to do with her insulin and to take him to the doctor, and he's got to eat and he's got to blah blah blah. And when we came home to an almost dead dog. Like he was like just like sitting, lying in his urine. It was just horrible, horrible, horrible. Again, we brought him to the animal medical center, animal hospital, and they revived him, but it took them a long time to get him back. But we almost came home to a dead dog. It was horrible.
My gosh. I don't know why people, take on those tasks if they're not willing to step up to and do it right.
Yeah, bring him to the vet. If you don't know what to do, if he's not doing well, if he's not eating, if he's not responding, bring him to the vet. Don't just let him stay there. It's terrible. It's terrible.
My mom raised Doberman pinchers, and she owned a cruise company, and she went on one of her own, cruise so she could sell the cruise. They let you go on for a penny, and then you can come back and sell it because you've been on it. And she came back, somebody was watching her dog, and she came back and he had shot the dog.
Oh my
That he was
God.
aggressive.
Oh my God. Oh my
And
God.
this was
Like,
not an aggressive. If you knew this dog, if he wanted to get on the couch, if there was newspaper and you would hear that noise from the newspaper, he'd go hide.
wow, wow, wow. That's you think people, and you find out you don't. In a pinch, they're not what you thought.
Yeah. Well, we've been on
Hey,
here an hour and 20 minutes.
cool. It feels like feels like 20 minutes maybe. Thank
Wonderful.
Same
Wonderful.
here. You're the best. You're great. You're great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You make everything so easy.
This is what we would be doing if we just met at a coffee shop, or
Right.
if I see you in New York. Like, this is what we do. And
Hmm.
other people
Hmm.
get to watch it like they're voyeurs looking at us with microscope,
Right. Right.
binoculars. What are they
I,
talking about?
right. I don't think was this on my Facebook page. I don't think that was this on mine also. This was on. Oh, thank you.
I tagged
Th-
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Where do you want people to follow you, and how can they catch you doing Zoom comedy right now?
Well, I'm not good with social media, but whatever. My Facebook page, you could do Ziggy Zygy Susser, and my email would be zygyssusser at gmail.com, and I do Gladys's, open mic every other Wednesday, but people should just go every Wednesday because even if I'm not there, it's just always a good show. So go to Gladys Simon and look up her show, which is Wednesdays, starting at 8 o'clock.
Eastern,
Um,
8 Eastern.
8 Eastern, 8 o'clock
Yep.
Eastern, right, right. It's Gladys Simon. So I'm always on hers. And I do other open mics. There's a guy, HP Comedian is another open mic I do. He's great. I do that Friday nights at about 9 o'clock. You can look him up Eastern. You can look him up on Facebook or YouTube. Um, but whatever, I should do more open mics. I'm not crazy about open mics. I definitely should do more. I don't like them, but Gladys and HP, it's very easy to do. They're very good. And, I did Jean Kim I did hers once. That was fun. She's also great. Whatever. Um, I hope it's okay if I mention to someone else's podcast or something like that. Um,
Absolutely.
there's a woman who does podcasts for comics who have pets, and it's called Heavy Petting. And so she did a segment with me and Charlie, and wow. Right now, I'm blanking on, I'm terrible when you get old. I'm blanking on her name and stuff like that. Her last name is Hardman.
Cheri,
Uh,
Cheri.
Thank you, thank you. You're the best. Cheri Hardman, and she has a podcast called Heavy Petting, and we're in episode 72. So if you want to see Charlie again, you click on Cheri Hardman Heavy Petting. Episode 72 is me and Charlie. Whatever, but anyway, so that's good. And go ahead.
When you get off of this Zoom call, will you tell me all those places to catch you at? HD, comedian, Gladys, and Cheri, what episodes, so I don't forget to put those in the post?
Sure. Yeah. Thank
Please.
you, And also, I should mention, Debbie Bazza did an interview with me, she was great. I loved her, and Celeste Jennings did a podcast with me. If you could find it, and Jo Firestone has something, Breakfast with Seniors. You're on that too. You're in one of those episodes. You're in episode 2. I'm in episode 3. That came out good because Jo is great. She's so funny, and she does it in a nice class. Whatever. So I've been around a little. I want to be around more. But thanks for giving me the opportunity to share time with you.
Yes. Oh, I enjoyed this so much, Ziggy.
Me too.
So just so you people watching now, or if you're after the fact, and for Ziggy, this is coming to a close, this interview. But after the fact, I'll type up my thoughts about Ziggy, a personal friend and a very good comedian in New York. I'll put his credits, where to catch him, and some thoughts about him, and share it with other people, because he could use to get booked. We're comedians, we're on a shoestring budget, and he's talented. He's
I,
talented.
I wanted to say one other thing. You had mentioned that I'm on a Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I want to be honest. I was on one episode for 1 second. So I was an extra one episode. It's not like I'm a regular cast member. You can't watch the show and find me there. It's one episode, season 2, episode 7, minute 40. So you'll see me for that split second. If you stop your tape, you'll see me. So it's not like I'm a regular there.
Yeah, I should have been more clear. I wasn't sure how to word that, so I left
That's
it.
okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
but you were
That's
on
okay.
it.
Right. I have it as a credit.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple of minutes to go ahead and finish this up with anything you'd like to say to people who are also going through a pandemic, or comedy lovers, or comedians, or bookers, or agents. Anything you want to say to people or the comedy world. You get to say 2 to 5 minutes. It's all yours to close out the show.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for giving me the chance to be here and for being so pleasant, making this so easy. And like you said, I would have the same conversation with you in a coffee shop or anywhere, and it's like great. And what I want to say to everybody is get vaccinated. Don't be afraid of the vaccine. Don't it's better to be alive than to worry about side effects or anything else. I know right now it's hard. A lot of people want it and you can't get it, but when it becomes more available, don't follow anybody who says not to get it or that anything is wrong with it. I was lucky enough, me and my wife were lucky enough, we just got it like I think 2 days ago. I got the first shot. It was just a matter of luck that whatever, I got it. But get it. I mean,
I heard one of the side effects is it makes you quit sitting on your bird as often.
well, that's if you get a shot in the ass. I didn't get a shot. I didn't get a shot in my ass, so I still might sit on them. but I won't bump into him with my arm because that's where I got the shot. But anyway, very good. But in terms of comedy, with the pandemic, we're all suffering, and I think comedy is a great thing. It makes people laugh, and look for comedy. There's a lot of comedy out there. Some of it's free, some of it you pay for. What we found out is that things don't last forever. So if you see something you like, if you see someone who's going to perform who you like, don't think, well, I can see another time or do it another time. Do it now, because who knows how this is going to end up. So laugh now. Don't say, well, I'll whatever. I'll see him later or whatever. Do it now. Do it now. Take advantage of things now, and take advantage of this time to do good stuff. It's easy to waste this time. I would waste it, but Zoom has really helped me, because like Rob Chaffee's class and other classes, Vanessa's, and Zoom it's so easy to do stuff. You can learn so much on Zoom. Any subject you want to take, all these institutions are putting things on Zoom. Take advantage of it, and who knows what normal is going to be like after this, and when it's going to ever go back to normal. So, try to keep yourself busy so you don't get depressed.
There
Keep
you
active.
go. Is there anything else I didn't ask that you'd feel remiss about if you didn't mention it?
I'm a size 9 shoe, 15 neck, 32 sleeve, like 34 waist.
Socks?
I think you might have medium. You might have covered everything. I don't know. So hat size. I need a big hat size. Anyway, I think we covered a lot. Just be nice to people. Check up on your friends. Call them. I don't know. I'm old fashioned. I like talking to people as opposed to texting. I like the real deal thing. So whatever. To me, texting is so easy to misunderstand. You don't know what somebody meant, and all you ask back and forth. Did you mean this? Did you know I meant that? And meanwhile, if you would talk to them regular on the phone, you'd know exactly. But in this world, we don't have the time anymore. Everybody's texting adds a lot also. But whatever. Just stay in touch with people.
Say something about ahabroadway.org. AHHABroadway.org. Will you talk about that real quick? They just got on here and liked this video of you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Aha Broadway. There's these two women who are really, really nice and sweet, and Heather and Abby. I don't remember their last names, and they have this organization called Aha, then an exclamation mark, and then Broadway. And I don't know much about the history of it, but I know they're doing things for people, especially maybe during the pandemic, like for kids. They have kids programs. They have programs for seniors. They have an acting class. They have a 1940s radio hour. They have a comedy writing class that they're doing right now that I'm lucky enough to be part of, and Vanessa and Hollingshead. And it's not expensive at all. And just look them up, Aha Broadway. And they do things for women empowerment, which is really nice. So that's a good organization and everything.
Absolutely. And there's discounts for seniors, veterans, and they help empower children to be on Broadway and do plays.
Yeah, I don't know all that they do, but they do a lot.
Yeah. Okay, well, I've worn you out, and your bird is probably somewhere going, I'll get even. Bring that daughter here.
He's on a bird podcast happening over there.
Thank you so much, Ziggy Susser.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you later. I miss you already. This has been awesome.
Great. We have to do this. We should do this every day.
Every day we should wake up
Every,
and bring the bird, of course.
right, right. Stay, everybody, and you especially, stay safe and stay well.
Thank you. You too. All my best
Thank
to
you.
you. Talk to you
Thank
later.
you. Okay, great.
Mm.
Have a good night. Bye.
You too. Bye.